How's it going, Diablo fans? So this is my Fireball build guide, and I played with Fireball and Frozen Orb enchantments, so I call it the Frost Fireball build. This build is pretty cool because it attacks at a whopping attack speed at 5 attacks per second, which is the maximum you can actually reach with Fireball. That being said, it's not a very strong pusher, but it pretty much looks cool and it's a good mid-game farmer, but this is definitely nothing for high level, so the Fireball will just not hit hard enough. But still, I think it's a pretty cool build. And if you're like in this whole fire build stuff and you generally like the visuals, it's definitely a cool build you can play, but don't expect wonders out of this. Anyway, I want to make this build guide anyway because I thought it looks cool and it plays cool and it is actually like a complete build. And as always, you will find links to all the sections of this guide and to the planner and to all my other build guides in the description of this video. So without further ado, let's go right into the skill tree. Okay, so we put 2 points into Firebolt here for the Firebolt enchantment. And then we max out Fireball into Enhanced Fireball into Destructive Fireball, just for the little bit of extra critical strike damage here. And then we put 1 into Frozen Orb, into Enhanced Frozen Orb, into Destructive Frozen Orb. So Frozen Orb is going to be our enchantment here, and as we attack at 5 attacks per second, it spawns quite a bit of Frozen Orbs. We don't need the Vulnerable, we get this from Lucky Hit on our gear. If you don't have Vulnerable Lucky Hit on your gear, you have to spec into Greater Frozen Orb, but we have that on our gear, so we want to have Destructive Frozen Orb because this build is crazy mana hungry and we really want to get every little bit of mana regeneration we can get, okay? So then we put 2 into Devastation. You could just put 1, but I prefer to having even a little bit more mana here, and then 3 into Elemental Dominance here, so we get a little bit more core skill damage. And then I don't put points into Flame Shield and Teleport, because we have that from our +3 on our chest piece, or if you have Shako, you have +4 anyway, right? And then Ice Armor into Enhanced Ice Armor into Shimmering Ice Armor. So Enhanced Ice Armor gives you 30% increased multiplicative mana regeneration. Extremely important for this build, since, again, we are mana hungry as hell. And since we're using so much mana, Shimmering Ice Armor essentially gives us 100% uptime on Ice Armor. So this is really handy to keep your barrier up at 100% of the time and also give you a lot of mana regeneration here. Then we put 1 into Hydra. If you have Shako, you can remove this point. We put Hydra on our bar just to regenerate a little bit of extra mana together with Conjuration Mastery here. And then we put 3 into Precision Magic, 1 into Ice Blades, Enhanced Ice Blades, and Summoned Ice Blades, again for the cooldown reduction. And so 2 Hydras and 1 to 2 Ice Blades is essentially 18 to 24% multiplicative mana regeneration here again. So that is the whole point. And then 1 into Align the Elements, 3 into Mana Shield. We only have 1 into Protection here because I felt like I don't really need the extra barrier because I have permanent barrier from Ice Armor anyway. And then I have just 1 spare point here in Icy Veil. If you want to like redistribute this, for example, you can just put it here. Honestly, like it doesn't even matter. Like I don't need these points. And then we put 3 into Inner Flames, 3 into Devouring Blaze. We want to have another +3 Devouring Blaze on our amulet, and 3 into Crippling Flames here. This helps staggering bosses, and also like it's good for survivability inside the dungeon. And then 1 into Permafrost and 3 into Hoarfrost. Again, stuff is going to be frozen by Frozen Orb, and this is also for staggered bosses mainly. Then 1 into Fury Surge. If you struggle with mana, you can redistribute points here, right? For example, you could take these 2 points out of Devastation and put these 2 into Fury Surge, which gives you a little bit more mana inside the dungeon phase. And then 3 into Soulfire, basically. So in a boss fight, you want to stand still because this is going to reduce your mana cost and it matters a lot. And then last but not least, Ace's Ferocity. Glad we can play a fire build and we can use Ace's Ferocity because together with the aspect of Ancient Flame, this is just such a good key passive here. So we use Ice Blades mainly just for an extra stack for Conjuration Mastery and for a little bit of more cooldown reduction here. And then we use Teleport for teleporting, Flame Shield, basically mainly to dodge mechanics of the shadow clones of the final bosses in the pits, but also if you encounter like a strong pack of mobs, since you don't have like real crowd control in this build, it comes in handy. And Hydra, we just put up 2 Hydras to get the 6% extra mana regeneration of Conjuration Mastery per stack, so 12% extra mana regeneration here, right? It matters a lot. Fireball, obviously, main attack spell. You want to spam that shit like crazy. And Ice Armor, we use with the Shimmering Ice Armor, so as we cast so many Fireballs, we get permanent cooldown reduction from the Shimmering Ice Armor. So Ice Armor basically gives us a permanent 30% mana regeneration then, which is really required for this build. Then we still play Firebolt Enchantment. We have to play Firebolt Enchantment in fire builds because there's just too much burning synergy, and Fireball itself doesn't make stuff burning, so there's really no option around this here. And then we play Frozen Orb Enchantment. It just makes sense because we are just using so many fireballs, so we're shooting 5 fireballs per second, and Frozen Orb Enchantment is just the strongest, so it helps staggering the bosses, it does decent damage even on level 1, and also it gives us nice mana regeneration. If it hits a staggered boss, it always regenerates 5 mana, and in the dungeon phase, enemies are going to be frozen a lot, so it also helps. And furthermore, it also enables the Hoarfrost here during the dungeon phase, so this is another 18% multiplicative damage, so highly recommend running Frozen Orb Enchantment on this build here. For the items and stats, this plays best with Shako. Just once again, it is just +4 ranks to all skills, though it's not mandatory, but it simply plays best if you have Shako. If you don't have Shako, you can just play a regular helmet with, I use mana per second, max life, and intelligence. You can also change the max life, for example, to cooldown reduction if you like, but I feel like I don't really need so much cooldown reduction in this build. And the mana per second roll is really, really nice to give you like this little bit of extra mana regeneration, since this build really is crazy mana hungry. And I have a ruby in here, ignore that. I'm playing Topaz. If you're playing lower levels, you want to play rubies. But if you want to do higher tiers, generally you want to put Topaz in because 50% extra damage is just too strong, right? So then also we play Undying aspect here. So you can play Undying even if you play Shako. It's kind of a personal preference, but I like playing Undying because at 5 attacks per second, it gives you like a very, very good health regeneration. And I generally don't like chugging potions all the time, right? So then for our chess piece, we use Aspect of Fortune. Again, our mana regeneration is based on lucky hit, so this gives us 25% lucky hit, which is really nice. And then you want to have intelligence, mana per second, and +2 defensive skills. If you have Shako, +2 defensive skills is not really required. You could get max life, for example. But still, +2 defensive skills is pretty good. You have like faster teleport, cooldown, you have longer flame shield duration, so I highly recommend this attribute on your chess piece since you can't really get anything else useful on your chess piece here. And for the tempering, you want to have total armor and chance to freeze, stun, whatever. So this is for staggering bosses. Just I forgot also on this one, you want to have max life and also chance to freeze, whatever, so you can stagger the bosses faster, right? This is a very good tempering recipe here. And then we have our gloves. So we play the gloves of the Illuminator here. It makes our fireball bounce, and this is simply required for this build. You definitely want to try to hit like as close to like 25% less damage as possible. Other than that, look for fireball attack speed, critical strike chance, and +2 fireball. Those are all great. Resource generation is also great, but you know, in general, try to more hit like crit attack speed and the fireball ranks here. Then for our pants, we play Concussive Strike here for extra damage against bosses when they're staggered. Then you want to have Intelligence, Maximum Life, and Armor. So you need 1 armor roll basically to get the armor cap. And you temper Maximum Life, and again, lucky hit to crowd control. And ideally, with the Master working, you want to hit Intelligence on every single armor piece, right? Then Asus Boots is pretty much required. Aim for high movement speed and high mana cost reduction and high critical strike chance. Most important, I would say, is the 30%. And then next comes movement speed, and then next comes mana cost reduction here. For our wand, you want to have intelligence, lucky hit to restore resource, and either maximum life or some damage stat, like damage to close, damage to crowd control. You don't want to use damage to distant. Damage to close is generally better. And then again, for tempering, you want to have a damage temper, like damage to close or fireball damage, doesn't really matter. And then the chance to fireball cast twice. This is obviously the most important, so try to get a high roll on that. And also, when you're masterworking that, your first masterwork should always hit this chance to cast fireball twice. And then as an aspect, we use Aspect of Ancient Flame. This gives us easy 100% attack speed. So then for our focus, again, I want to have intelligence, critical strike chance, cooldown reduction. This is a pretty good piece for this. And then you want to temper pyromancy, attack speed, and chance for fireball projectiles to cast twice again. Again, for the master working, you want to hit the fireball percentage. And we put on the accelerating aspect here for even more attack speed. So let me just talk really quick about the attack speed. So there's a link in the description down below where the attack speed frames for fireball. So you want to reach 161% attack speed. It's very important, right? So accelerating aspect is 25%, and then the regular attack speed can go up to 100% with the well, I have like 90%, I think. So if you look at my attack speed now, I have a 40% attack speed bonus plus 50 from Ace's Ferocity, right? So I'm sitting at 90 plus the 25 from the accelerating, that's 115. And then we add here 9 from this gloves, so we add 124, right? Then we add, where is the next one here? 124 plus 12.8, so we have 136 plus another 14, right? So we have 150 now, and then I have another 14.8 pyromancy here, so that's 164 basically, right? So you need to get over 161 attack speed. Everything above is wasted, and if you're slightly below, you're gonna lose exactly 1 fireball per second, which is huge. So 161% attack speed is the breakpoint here. Just talking about that. So you in general have to temper pyromancy attack speed on 3 or 4 items, really depending on your rolls and everything. But 161, that's the number here, okay? And then for our rings, I want to have attack speed, critical strike chance, intelligence. Again, temper pyromancy, attack speed, resource cost reduction, very important. And we have the conceded aspect here. Second ring, again, intelligence, attack speed, and you need 1 lucky hit chance to apply vulnerable, right? So vulnerable is very important, so you need 1 of those. And again, pyromancy, attack speed, and I have lucky hit to restore, but you can also have resource cost reduction. And I have the storm swell aspect on here. And then last but not least, our amulet. I play the 3 curses here on your amulet because it gives you have 100% critical strike chance, right? So it gives you the highest damage bonus with 60% here. And then you want to have attack speed, cooldown reduction, and ranks to Devouring Blaze. You can also, instead of cooldown reduction, have percent intelligence, which is also a very strong multiplier. And you want to have 1 fire damage temper on any of your gears because that is important for the Frigid Fate, and resource cost reduction here. For the Paragon board, first board is pretty standard. We play Elementalist for the extra non-fizz and the extra multiplier here. Then first board is going to be the Searing Heat. We pick up the Searing Heat for the crit and the damage. Then we pick up all these burning nodes here on the way. And then we put in our Pyromaniac here for an extra 10% multiplicative. And we pick up a little bit of fire damage on the way here as well. And then we move over to the Burning Instinct board. We pick this for the glyph socket with the Tactician glyph. So we get the maximum damage reduction from burning and the maximum damage to burning here. Then the next board is going to be our Elemental Summoner. We pick up this big mana node here on the way. And this is really important because, again, our mana regeneration is based on lucky hits. So this really gives us a lot of mana regeneration. If you want to play a little bit more defensive, you can definitely pick up these nodes here. But I generally decide not to. And then we put in our Enchanter Glyph here with 50 int. This is for the Frigid Fate mainly. We're gonna get to a little bit later here. And then we move over to the next board, which is Enchantment Master here. We pick up all the non-fizz damage nodes here. And then we pick up these non-fizz damage nodes. I'm not optimized. I could optimize a little bit more around it to reach the 530 dexterity, but it's not a game breaker here. And then we put in our control glyph here, mainly for the 20% increased damage to crowd controlled and staggered bosses here. And then moving over to the next board, that is going to be the Ceaseless Conduit. We just pick it for the glyph socket here to put our Destruction glyph. And last board is going to be the Frigid Fate, which we put Flame Feeder in. You can also do Exploit if you like. I feel like Flame Feeder is a little bit better. And then we pick up the Frigid Fate node, with currently we have a 25% bonus on this one. So again, that's what the Enchanter Glyph is very important for, because it gives you these 99.7 non-physical damage, which is basically cold damage. And that is then boosting our Frigid Fate here.